Short story by Paul McCann, The Sky Train. It was a very dark day in Vision Valley, and for one person even more so. Sorrowful Jones was born blind, and even though he was lonely, he grew up with a positive outlook on life. Mr. Wright, who owned the local greengrocery, gave Sorrowful Jones a job in his shop. Out the back storeroom, Sorrowful Jones packed fruit into cardboard boxes. These boxes were then loaded on Wright's delivery truck. Mr. Wright was a hard man to work for, and not many people were able to stay in his employ for very long, except for Sorrowful Jones. Mr. Wright treated Sorrowful Jones harshly and got away with it because he knew that nobody else would give him a job. It was way past finishing time one evening when Mr. Wright asked young Jones to make a special delivery to Mrs. O'Hara, who had ordered a box of fruit the day before. Jones was worried about venturing beyond the areas he knew, and Mrs. O'Hara lived in the next village. However, he told Mr. Wright that he said he could do the job. Mr. Wright handed over some train fare and the box of fruit to Jones, who set off towards Vision Valley railway station. He had a great knowledge of the streets around Vision Valley. As he had walked through the dark streets, he followed behind the footsteps of girls in high heels who made their way along the footpath to the top of the town. With his white stick before him, Jones started to alert himself to the situations that he was in. People coming towards him seen Jones with a white stick and moved away. Most people now were able to see his predicament. At this time of the day, most people were either at home or in bars or nightclubs. Sorrowful Jones had a special delivery to do before he could go home for his dinner. As he drew near to the top of the town, something strange was happening in the sky. The moon began to shimmer and dance, and suddenly, from out of a dark sky, a long silver train descended down. Tooting its whistle, chugging its wheels, the sky train came to the rest on a pavement near Jones. Unaware what had just happened, Sorrowful Jones thought he was at a railway station. "All aboard!" a voice rang out. Then as Sorrowful Jones stepped on the train, he heard the train driver say, "Next stop, Thirstville Village." "Oh, good. That's where I gotta go," said Jones. But there, no one answered, as the train was filled with emptiness. No one at all was on the train but Jones, and with a long toot of the whistle, the train returned up to the sky. Higher and higher it went until it was above the clouds. Poor Sorrowful Jones was not able to see any of the goings-on, and as far as he was concerned, it was just another train trip to the next village. "Tickets, please," said the ticket collector, and Jones immediately began to search his pockets for his ticket. Jones smiled as he handed his ticket over to the collector, who slowly checked the ticket. Shaking his head, he said, "What's this, then?" "My ticket, sir." "I'm afraid you don't have a ticket to ride on this train, son. This is not good. If you don't have a ticket, I'm afraid I will have to put you off the train." "Oh, please, sir, check my ticket again." The ticket collector smiled, and he said, "Is this the first time on this train, or what?" "It is, sir." The sky train skidded across the sky, hundreds of feet, maybe thousands of feet above the ground. The blind boy pointed to the box on his lap, and he said, "Oh, please, sir, can I stay on the train? It's all Mr. Wright gave me this box and all the money to get this to Mrs. O'Hara's from Wright's greengrocery shop I work." "Oh, well then, I suppose we better get you there on time," he said. The little blind boy breathed a sigh of relief and sat back in his seat and placed the cardboard box upon the floor. He looked up in the direction of the ticket collector and he said, "Oh, thank you, sir. You seem to be a nice man." The ticket collector looked deep into the boy's eyes and he said, "Seems to me you are too. Enjoy the ride. Just look out the window and watch the stars go by. Like flashes of white rain, my child. I can't, sir. Can't you see I'm blind? The ticket collector placed his hand on the boy's eyes and he said, Then let there be light, and let it shine bright. Let there be sight so you can see things right. Suddenly Jones started to scream and shout for joy. I can see! Look, I can see everything! The stars, and yonder the moon. I can see it all. God, thank you, I can see. The ticket collector said, Okay, settle down. Settle down in your seat, young lad, because we are pulling into Thurstville Station. The train rolled to a stop and Jones jumped off the train and rushed all the way to the platform screaming, Look at me! It's a miracle! I can see! The train driver peered out from the window and he said, Hurry up, young man. I'll wait 10 minutes for you. Sorrowful Jones ran through the gate and straight up the main street until he came to Mrs. O'Hara's front door. He knocked and rang the bell and slowly the door opened up. A nice grey-haired lady stood there with a warm expression on her face. Oh, thank you for coming, my son. I must have been a long journey for you, I suppose. Oh, no. I can see everything. It wasn't so far. Did you catch the train okay, son? Jones nodded. Yes, you know what, I really like to talk with you, lady, but I must dash because the train driver is going to only wait 5 more minutes for me. Here then, and take this for your trouble. The old woman handed Sorrowful Jones a long envelope. He put it into his pocket and thanked her before saying farewell. Then he ran back and boarded the train. Sitting back in his seat, Jones opened up the envelope and taking the letter from within, he started to read. Dear son, I am Dawn, your mother, who had to leave this world on the day that you were born. I am so glad to see you have grown up into such a fine young man. I am so proud of you. One day soon, when you can catch another train, I will see you again. It's a shame you can't stay with me now, but you have a long life ahead of you. The train you are on is a magic train. You already know that, I'm sure. I am putting a photograph of me along with this letter. Goodbye for now, my son, and remember I am with you always. The ticket collector walked past Jones and he said, Time to go, young man. We are pulling into Vision Valley now. The train rolled in, and at the top end of town, Jones got off the train. He waved as the train soared back into the sky and watched it until it was out of sight. He then looked towards Wright's grocery store and saw old Mr. Wright closing the shutters and the doors. He shouted as he ran towards him, Mr. Wright, I'm back! Where have you been, boy? Bringing the order to Mrs. O'Hara's, like you asked me to. Mr. Wright seemed a little puzzled. Nonsense, boy. I had no order for Mrs. O'Hara. But you did. You told me it was on the top of yesterday's list. If you think you can fool me by making up some story about an order that never existed, you can get paid for your work and never come back. You never did anything like that. You're wrong. And if you think I'm going to carry you anymore, go and get yourself another job. Huh? This is, if anyone would hire a blind boy. Sorrowful Jones took a deep breath and he said, Well, that's fine with me, Mr. Wright. So, you would just pay me up then for what you owe me this month, and we'll call it quits. The old man put his hand into his pocket, and he counted out some spare change. Here, take this and good riddance. How much did you pay me? More than you're worth. Then here, I've counted it out. You handed me 10 sixpences and 4 pennies. There are 3 halfpennies and a washer with no value at all. Mr. Wright was perplexed and very shocked. How do you know that? Let's just say that for the first time I can see who you really are. Goodbye. Goodbye, you sad and lonely old man. Maybe I've been too hard, Jones. Listen, you can have your job back. I wouldn't work for you if you got down on your knees and begged me. Jones turned his back and walked away, throwing the small change up into the air. The end.